You're looking live at Captain Kirk and the Canucks as they make their way onto the ice, hoping to make it 2 in a row here in Reunion Arena. It's Game 2 in the Western semifinal. Standing by in the broadcast booth, Don Whitman and Jim Paplitsky. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Steve. Hi, everybody. Yes, it will be Kirk McLean in goal again for the Vancouver Canucks. Bob Gainey went with Darcy Wakaluk against St. Louis. He also went with him in Game 1, but he's making a change for tonight's second game.
Well, Wakaluk had a heck of a string going into the playoffs. Gainey went with him. The reason he made the change was his team didn't play great in front of him. You shake things up a bit with a guy that's won over 300 games. Moog is very, very strong against the Canucks in the regular season, so it's really no surprise to see Gainey go with Moog. He couldn't make the wrong decision on goaltender, Stan.
Jim, do you think that the Dallas Stars were a bit surprised in Game 1 by the Vancouver Canucks in a different defensive style from the Canucks than they experienced in the first series against St. Louis?
Oh, absolutely. St. Louis has got a mobile defense, but they're not going to hammer the heck out of you. Guys like Duchesne and Housey can move the puck and beat you with speed and finesse. The Canucks can beat you by running over you, and that's what happens. It's a lot tougher for Dallas to get to the net, and unless they do that, they're not going to win this game. You know, we talked to Brown about that. He played with St. Louis and now has played with Vancouver, and he had a number of different things to say about that, and not the least of which was the physical size of Vancouver's defense.
I think defense is, you know, it's not 2 guys, it's 5 or 6 guys with the goalie helping out. Here we just got a little more physical type of player, I think, on the blue line.
Changed their style of play at all in the playoffs?
I don't think they've changed their style of play, but I think they've gone under a change or a metamorphosis for guys that like big words. If you look at Vancouver since the start of the regular season, they've started to get great performances from a lot of guys. Linden and Courtnall were good right from the start. A lot of their role players really came on, and now you got Jelena and McIntyre. Go through the list, and there's not very many guys that you can say aren't playing up to their potential. When you have that kind of a change from the regular season, you win games.
Vancouver Canucks would love to go home leading by 2. Now let's go down to ice level, and here's Steve.
Thank you, Don. The only other half of the Western semifinal is underway tonight at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. The Leafs go up 1-0 with a 2-man advantage. Mironov with a bullet drive from the point goes over the shoulder of Arturs Urbe. Gilmore and Ella drawing the assist, and the Leafs leading San Jose 1-0. Remember, San Jose won the first game 3-2. Now with the national anthem here at Reunion Arena, let's join Mike Bortz.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? And the home of the brave.
of the Western Conference semifinal series. The Vancouver Canucks won Game 1, 6-4, and would like to return to the Pacific Coliseum for the next 3, leading 2-0. Kirk McLean, as he has been throughout the playoffs, will be in goal for the Vancouver Canucks. He has won 4 in a row. A goaltending change for the Dallas Stars. Andy Moog, who has not played this year in the postseason, will be in goal. Moog, of course, 3 Grey Cup wins as a member of the Edmonton Oilers. Andy Van Hellemond is the referee. Gord Brossiker and Brian Murphy, as they were in Game 1, are the linesmen. It's Ronning against Eklund in the face-off circle. The puck comes back to Hatcher. Hatcher dumps it to the corner. McLean plays it up along the boards. Eklund is in forechecking. He can't control. Now back at center ice. Hatcher has it. Hatcher's pass picked off by Momesso. Momesso will dump it in. Mike Lawler in the lineup in place of Richard Matvichuk. Moved it ahead to Hedican, or to Hatcher, I should say, and it was brought in offside.
Well, Don, let's take a look at who's not in the lineup. Dana Merzen still in Vancouver, getting his knee looked after. Carson, Ojic, Slager, Plavsic, Fountain, Charbonneau, and Mike Pekka all here. The problem with that is you got to skate when you're not playing. Mark Tenorti wishes that he was skating. He joined the team yesterday for his first full workout, but he busted his leg back in January. They'd love to have him in the lineup, but they don't. Matvichuk played the first game, and he got the gas pipe, as they say in the dressing room tonight. Lawler is in his place.
Shane Sherla continuing to wear the C for the Dallas Stars. Dumps it down the ice. Back after it goes Brown. Brown tried to move it up on the right side. It was beyond the reach of Jellin, and it slides all the way back into the Dallas zone. Hatcher and Momesso were doing some bumping just inside the blue line. Now Momesso races over to tie up McPhee. McPhee had 2 goals in Game 1. The Vancouver Canucks make a complete change. Long shot by Shane Sherla right on. Diddick, who was injured in the first period in Game 1, but was able to return, takes a pretty solid hit from Sherla, and Sherla was very effective using the body in Game 1. And it appears as though the Dallas captain is going to continue that style of play in Game 2.
Well, Sherla changed the momentum around in Game 1. 19 seconds after his big hit, the Stars scored a goal, and he starts out the same way. Puts the body on Big Diddick, and then shortly thereafter, Antosky, who senses that momentum, jumps down and delivers a check of his own. Very important that you don't let the other guys get the edge. Antosky recognizing that and doing a good job. Pat Quinn, who I'm sure has got some lucky piece of clothing that I haven't identified yet that he's worn for 5 games in a row. Whether that continues tonight or not depends on whether Vancouver wins. Lots of superstition whether guys own up to it or not in the National Hockey League.
He had his lucky tie on for the Calgary series. Here's Modano driving for the net, and the net comes off its supports. We mentioned in Game 1 that the nets here at the Reunion Arena seem to come loose very easily, and prior to the game they were checking the nets, but here you see Modano driving for the net, getting spun around, and you watch the net come off its supports as Modano and Diddick go into it.
Well, that's exactly what Modano has to do. He said he found it more difficult getting through the Vancouver defense as opposed to the St. Louis defense that Dallas swept 4 in a row. But you get it on the outside and drive to the net. It's amazing how you go down a couple of times like that, and even if it's not a penalty, the referee starts to look, and if the other guys step outside, he'll call the penalty. Now, just before the game, Don, as you mentioned in Game 1, you thought these nets were loose. John D'Amico, following this series as a supervisor, went down, checked both ends, and they drilled the holes a little bit deeper to make the nets more solid.
Andy Moog's first save off a rocket from Trevor Linden, and the puck is knocked back out to center ice, and the fans start a chant every time Andy Moog does make a save. An offside call against Dallas with 18:07 remaining in a still scoreless opening period.
Oh, the game got started a little quicker than we wanted it to. We wanted to show you the nets, and you see the gentleman in front of you. He's just drilling a hole after D'Amico spent some time at both ends of the ice measuring the depth of the hole for the Marsh Pigs. There's a good shot of the Marsh Pigs. Red on top, green on the bottom. Augered it down an extra inch or so. So it hurt a little bit more when Modano hit the net, but the little bumps that took the net off the moorings in game one shouldn't do the same thing in the second game of this series.
Adams tried to slip it through for Linden. He couldn't get to it. Now Glynn tries to set something up as he takes it back into his own zone. He's back there with Lume. This is the second consecutive game for Glynn. He's replacing the injured Dana Merzen, who remains back in Vancouver. He's listed as day-to-day. Bure couldn't catch up with the puck. Linden frees it for him. Tipped just past him by Adams. And the loose puck grabbed by Grant Ledyard. Ledyard moves it up to the blue line. Drop pass for Barr. Gilchrist goes to the net. The shot is deflected before it gets to McLean. Taken in behind the net now by Broughton. Broughton is tied up there by Linden. Linden manages to come away with the puck. Linden for Adams. He has Bure breaking out with him. Adams with a long shot. That's glove juggled by Moog, and then Moog flips it out to center ice. Bartnell raced in to try and cut off a clearing attempt. He managed to stop it initially, but now the Stars come back. Drop pass for Modano. Modano tried to pick the far side. It went wide. Mike Lawler throws it back at the net. Platt in a collision in the corner, lost his helmet. He's bumped again. The puck comes free. Craven overskated it, but Hennigan comes back to help him. Now it's Jeff Portnoy. He tried to relay it to Craven. It was behind him, but following up on the play is Brown, and Brown fires it in. It's left for Hatcher. Hatcher moves it to Platt, who is still playing without his helmet. Platt taken in against the boards as it's flipped down into the Vancouver zone, and the Stars make a change.
Well, the Stars with a lot more jump than what they had in the first game. Vancouver anticipated this, and they're matching them man for man on the attack.
Here comes Ronning. Ronning moving into the slot. He shoots, he scores! Ronning, with his third goal, gives Vancouver a 1-0 lead. He had Sergei Momesso following up on the play. He faked as though he might drop it to him and then cut into the slot for a 1-0 Vancouver lead.
Well, we saw a giveaway in the Calgary series in mid-ice, and that's exactly what happens here with the counter. Watch this fake as Ronning puts the defenseman to his knees. Smolik got faked down here, a half shot, then he cuts hard, doesn't shoot real hard, but places it perfectly. Ronning and Moog played for the Canadian Olympic team in 1988. I wonder if Ronning knew of a little trick there to take something off the shot and go to the side from where he came.
Here's Gagne moving in front. Gagne takes the shot, and McLean makes the save. Gagne had the time to go right across the crease, and McLean moved over with him. The unassisted goal by Ronning, his third of the postseason at .350. Vancouver in front, 1-0. Broughton now getting set. His shot goes off the stick. Gagne has it behind the net. It comes back to Cavallini, a weak backhander that is deflected and held by McLean, but there's also a penalty call against Vancouver with 15:32 remaining in the first.
The Molson Canadian Stanley Cup Contest. Win a trip to 2 1994 Stanley Cup games and a chance to shoot for $1 million. Or one of over 25,000 official NHL prizes. Peel the sticker inside the case or call for details on entry without purchase. The Molson Canadian Stanley Cup Contest. Take your best shot.
Hockey Night in Canada on CBC is brought to you by Molson Canadian. Take your best shot in the Molson Canadian Score a Million Stanley Cup Contest. By Ford of Canada, where quality is job one. And by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi.
Vancouver
Gerald Diddick is off for cross-checking, so the first power play of the game belongs to the Dallas Stars from the face-off. McIntyre slapped at the length of the ice.
Here's a little trick when you see a guy right over against the boards, as the Dallas defenseman was. You've got a left-handed draw. You go with him and you shoot the puck straight out, as McIntyre did.
Rotten shot is blocked. The rebound fired wide by Klatt. Great chance for Klatt as he picked up the rebound and fired it wide. And now the Canucks are successful in clearing. 1:30 remaining in the penalty to Diddick. 1-0 Vancouver leading. Cliff Roning's first goal of this playoff year, while the teams were at even strength. McIntyre had dropped to his knees. He had lost his stick, but he waited and played it with his glove. Portnoy's shot goes off Glynn, back of the net. McLean tries to play it. Manages to move it ahead, and here's Linden. Coming in alone on Ledyard. Linden decides to circle and flip it back into his own zone.
Interesting there. Tim Hunter could have jumped up with Linden on a 2-on-1, but because he had a long shift, he decided to make the long-term decision and the right one and change and let Linden go by himself. The focus that Vancouver has is to kill the penalty, not to score a goal. That was Hunter's main concern.
The Stars having problems setting up this man advantage. Brown got turned around as the puck went deep into the zone, and McLean realized that, came out to play it, but he couldn't clear. Rink wide pass. Gagne fired it wide. Gilchrist moves into the slot. Eklund takes it back to the line. Hatcher is getting set back at the point. Will he shoot it or go over to Cavallini? Cavallini lets it go, and it deflected off the stick in front wide, and then is dumped down the ice as Hatcher stepped into his man and really hammered him. Now it's Cavallini. The penalty is over. A long shot through traffic, knocked down, and Hedekin picks it up for Vancouver. Lead pass for Diddick, who had come out of the penalty box, but it was across two lines. It's offside with 13:26 remaining in the first. Cliff Ronning, the goal scorer.
I drive a school bus for a living. I've been driving a school bus for 5 years, and I love it. I know safety, and I'm also a mom too. Safety's a big thing on the new Ford Aspire. Look at this car. Look at the features you get. Dual mirrors, child safety locks in the rear, side impact door beams like in the bus. This car right here has ABS. It also has standard dual airbags. You get in the new Aspire and you feel safe, and it's a heck of a lot prettier than the bus.
Take one.
Morning, on the CBC Morning. News World is inside the Russian Parliament. There are signs
For 8 o'clock.
We're going to see some fairly rapid changes at the sports club. Congratulations, Zara, with a complete sportscast.
Rescue crews are subway. About 800,000 Palestinians.
Oh, yeah.
Live, up to the minute, CBC Morning News. Weekdays on most of these CBC stations.
Jim, you talked about superstitions. Pat Quinn might never admit to it, but I think he's been wearing that tie for the last 4 games. I think this is the 5th in a row. Well, Pat has worn the same tie.
You know that Glenn Hanlon's got a great sense of humor. I told him I hoped that Vancouver lost a game so he could change his suit. The thing's looking like an old rag. Sorry, Glenn, if your friends and family is listening. I don't really mean that. Amazing superstitions, what guys will do to keep a streak going. And I'm one of them.
Diddick flips it up along the boards for Adams. Adams gets away from a check, dumps it to the corner, back after it. Ludwig having problems trying to clear. Adams battles with Churla. The puck comes free. Burry goes to the front of the net. Ronning trying to move it out. Now Adams has it. Adams is checked again by Lawler. And then Evason knocks Ronning down in the corner, and then Churla with a solid body check, or Ludwig, I should say, on Burry. And then Burry takes a hit from Churla. And back comes McPhee with a long shot wide. Churla again. This time he's bumped by Babbage. Ronning spins McPhee around. Churla is down, and he's hurt as he was hit by Burry. And Shane Churla is still down.
Holy mackerel. I cannot believe that Van Helmen did not see this. Churla is out cold. Bure caught him with a shoulder in the jaw, and he does not know where he is. Wait till you see the replay of this. If you missed it the first time, Churla had dished out a couple of hard but clean body checks. Just took a check from Babbage. Look at this, elbow right to the head. I will tell you that that will be a piece of video footage that will make it past the viewers and to Brian Burke, a former member of the Vancouver Canucks. Boy, Churla is a tough kid. I can't believe that he is up as quick as he is. He says, you see, Andy, that's a friggin' elbow, he said. He remembered what hit him. I'm amazed that Van Helmont didn't see that. He was right in the corner.
Well, Churla had been very much involved down in the Dallas zone, dishing out a couple of hits. Then he was taken in against the boards by Babbage. It almost appeared as though he was coming off the boards after the hit by the Vancouver defenseman in pursuit of Babbage, and wasn't looking at all for Pavel Bure, who really caught him with an elbow.
Well, Bure was physical in the Calgary series, and he started out in this series physically as well. He got into it at the start of the game with Matvichuk in the corner. Matvichuk got a penalty for a high stick, but Bure was there at every turn, and you want to be physical and you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Bure took his share of whacks and gave out a number as well, but boy, that one was outside the rules. Now Bure really got flattened in the other end twice. Churla came in with that hit. Bure got the stick up a little bit, but boy, he more than made up for that one.
Lume has it back of the net. Lume is bumped as the puck comes out to center ice. Courtnall tried to set up Modano. It bounced away from him. Craven races after it. Courtnall goes for the net. Courtnall shoots, it's blocked. Modano trying to go back the other way, was checked at center ice. Les Courtnall picks it up to Klatt. Klatt comes in, he's checked. Glynn knocks it up along the boards, and it's Jeff Courtnall having a little problems picking up the loose puck. Finally gets it over to Craven, takes a return pass. He winds up, and his shot is deflected up over the glass and out of play. Now Nathan Lafayette took a hit down in the corner after the whistle had gone, and that results in a gathering to the right of Andy Moog.
Well, we might have a little different game than what we had in game one from a physical point of view. We anticipated it to be much more intense, but you see Modano give it to Lafayette right after the whistle went. Murphy's in right away. 4 Stars and 2 Canucks.
I don't think either coach wants his star player, in the case of Bob Gainey, Mike Modano, and in Pavel Bure's case, in Pat Quinn's case, Pavel Bure getting involved, as they have been.
Well, there's a point, you know, when you're a role player, or one of the slugs, as I affectionately call guys that aren't in the top 3 or 4 from a skill point of view, you like to see the guys that you're looking after get involved and mix it up, not only score goals but also participate in the physical side of the game. And without question, Modano and Bure have done that to begin this hockey game. But there's a point, Don, you're absolutely right. You go too far, as I think Bure has at times, and did in the Calgary series, and I think did at the start of the game a couple of nights ago. You go too far and it takes you off your game, and it makes guys want you a little bit more too. So there's a fine line that you're trying to address, and let's see if Modano and Bure can find that line and stick to it.
In 7 of the 8 games that the Vancouver Canucks have played, the team that has scored first has gone on to win the hockey game. The exception was Game 7 against the Calgary Flames. And the Canucks have the first goal tonight. Adams looking for the second. Adams ridden off the puck, knocked down by Grant Ledyard. Broughton and Bure come in, and the puck is tied up by the first 2 who went to the corner for a faceoff.
Well, Bure with a great set of wheels, but clearly a bit of a temper and a memory as well. His numbers have improved dramatically. over the second half of his early playoff season. Only 3 points in the first 4 games, and that had Calgary with a 3-1 edge. You see what happens when the big guys start to score goals. If the Slugs keep up the rear and keep you even, the difference can be your star players. And Bure clearly the difference in Game 7 when he scored a huge overtime goal in double OT.
He feeds the point. Hedekin's long shot is held by Andy Moog, and again there's some bumping and pushing as Trevor Linden is hit in front of the net by Craig Ludwig. 11-12 remaining, and with a Stanley Cup update, here's Steve.
The Leafs make it 2-0. Todd Gill gets the shot. Watch Gartner jump on the rebound. His second of the playoffs. The goal coming at 9:31 of the second period. They go high against Arturs Irbe for the second straight goal. The Leafs up by 2 in the second. Don?
You know, that 2-3-2 series, Don, is really crucial. A number of the Stars were talking to me about it yesterday and again today, saying, geez, you know, I don't like the idea of being down 1 and going back there for 3. I wonder who thought of that, and you think we should have started on the road. Well, with the ability to play 4 at home, that will never happen, but it's always a consideration, particularly when you lose the first one.
Broughton gets it over to Gilchrist. Big save by McLean. McLean has come up with some excellent saves in the first half of this opening period here at Reunion Arena. Perhaps his best on the shot by Gilchrist.
Well, he has been strong. The Stars have had a number of scoring opportunities as we look at a slick little play by Broughton. Gilchrist coming late, something you can do when teams are trying to keep you to the outside and stand up on the blue line. Come late, they eventually have to back up. And if you've got a crafty centerman like Broughton who can dish the puck off as well as anybody in the league, you can get scoring opportunities like Gilchrist just did.
At the line, Hatcher lets the shot go, and again McLean has got it.
Now, even though the shots are fairly close, 7 right now for the Stars, a half a dozen for the Canucks, the Stars have clearly had many more scoring opportunities. A number of them haven't resulted in shots, but McLean has had to be sharp. Dallas with a lot more snap than they had in Game 1. If you're a coach, you're not happy being down by 1. Well, you are happy by what you see. If the team keeps it up, they'll get back in the game.
At center ice, Hatcher played it down the right wing side, but Ronning got back first. He leaves it in the corner for Babbage. Babbage throws it up the middle. It bounced away from Memesso. Paul Broughton takes a hit from Babbage, and Ronning goes back to pick up the loose puck. Ronning for Jelena. He could not handle it. 10:16 remaining in the first period. McLean plays it away from Gagne. And there's a whistle on the play and a penalty coming up with 10:10 remaining in the opening period.
Sometimes the truth is a little hard to understand. Other times, there's real value in getting a helping hand. Get the season cooking and save $40. Choose this Fiesta 30,000 BTU gas barbecue. It features family-sized nonstick surface, side burner, and 20-pound tank, all for just $179.97. True value. It's something you'll find every day at your Canadian True Value hardware store.
Third period. Seconds left. Down by a goal. Breakaway. The shot. Sports action. Get it right. Win money. You like that. It's something to brag about.
Well, Eklund gets 2 minutes for holding the stick in front of the Vancouver net. The rule is you can only have 1 stick, and it's got to be your own. Eklund has 2, and he almost went for 3, but he did go to the penalty box. And Vancouver gets their second power play opportunity in this game.
captain, Trevor Linden, dishes it off for Bure. Bure moves in, and Andy Moog with a good save as Bure faked the initial shot and gained a couple of extra strides to move right in on top of Andy Moog. Linden has it. Linden looks back to the point. Lumet over to Brown. Brown back to the point. Lumet's shot through traffic is wide. Back of the net. Adams trying to free it. Knocked away from him along the boards. Stars McPhee can't clear. It was cut off by Lumet. Lumet has the puck over to Brown. Brown moves in. His shot deflects and is grabbed by Andy Moog.
Well, I want you to watch carefully as Bure comes in with a tremendous move. Now, the thing in this replay is Bure is going at a fairly quick pace, and that means the puck is going at the same speed, so he's got to slow that down when he makes this move right here. Gives it a bit of a tick, and I can't tell you how you do that, except that there's a few players in the league that do it every once in a while. Almost lifts the puck up and slows it down from the speed from which you entered the zone with. That allows you to catch up to it and then get the shot. Bure with a very crafty move that he was hoping would increase the Vancouver power play numbers.
1:05 remaining in the penalty to Eklund. 9:16 the time left in the period. Back at the point. Brown moves it across. Lumet with a shot. It goes wide. Brown pinches in from the point to keep it in. He gets it to Bure. Bure tried to slip it back to the point. And now it's brought out of the zone by Ledyard. Ledyard takes some time before dumping it back of the net. 40 seconds remaining in the penalty to Eklund. Here comes Bure. Adams moving up as well. Brown trailing. Bure dodges a check back of the net. Adams gets it back to the line. Long shot is wide. Another penalty has been called as Linden battles for the puck in the corner, and the Stars will be shorthanded 2 men for 21 seconds.
Well, in game 1, Dallas had the edge on Vancouver from power play point of view. There was one set of coincidental minors. Other than that, Dallas had 5 power play opportunities. Vancouver only had a couple, but that has reversed in this game. 21 seconds remaining in the holding the stick call to Eklund. Now Ludwig, who is a great penalty killer because he covers a lot of ice and reads the play fairly well. One of those big defensemen, not unlike Merzen, Babbage, Didick, and Glynn, or the way Pat Quinn was as a defenseman when he played for the Leafs, Toronto, and eventually the Atlanta Flames.
In game 1 of the series, the Vancouver Canucks jumped into a 2-0 first period lead. They were ahead 4-1 in the second, but Dallas bounced back to tie it at 4 early in the third before Vancouver again took control. And Pat Quinn's team has a great chance here with a 2-man advantage of 21 seconds to add to the 1-goal lead that the team was staked to by Cliff Ronning. And Ronning is going to move into the face-off circle, replacing Murray Craven. Craven back to the line to Lumet. Brown moves in, fakes it over to Lumet. Lumet moves in, he shoots, and Andy Moog got a piece of that one. 11 seconds remaining in the 2-man advantage. Lumet has it back at the line. Lumet for Craven. It bounced away from him, and the Stars, Grant Ledyard, will clear as Eklund comes out of the penalty box.
Boy, Winnipeg-born Grant Ledyard with a great play on intercepting 2 Canuck passes. 21 seconds of 5-on-3. Vancouver won the draw, generated a great scoring chance, and Ledyard stopped the other ones that would have materialized had those passes made it down deep.
And again, the Stars clear. Babbage is back with Didick on the point. Didick takes the pass. A diagonal shoot in that Courtnall lets fly. Fired wide and again dumped down the ice.
Now this crowd is a rowdy, rambunctious group. They'll cheer for almost anything. I was amazed in looking at the papers and the media as to how they were very, very easy on the Stars after their first game of this series.
Running for Courtnall, a return pass. Running decides to go back to the point. Now behind the net for Courtnall. Courtnall back to the line for Brown. Into Bure. Brown shoots. It is blocked in front by Hatcher and fired down the ice by Cavallini with 20 seconds remaining in the penalty to Ludwig.
Well, I really like the way Vancouver is moving the puck around on the power play, not taking any time, making quick decisions, and then generating scoring chances.
Bure dumps it to the corner. Picked up by the Stars, and they fire at the length of the ice to kill off the final seconds in the penalty for Craig Ludwig.
As I was saying, this crowd just loves to get involved. They don't have to be entertained by the game, and any little thing, they're on their feet. A standing ovation after the Stars kill the Vancouver power play.
Here comes Clapp. Clapp having problems getting away from the checking of the Vancouver Canuck defenseman, and it is going to produce a penalty to Jyrki Lumme. A holding call with 6:12 left in the third.
Kellogg's presents Heads Up Hockey with Brett Hull.
Hi, I'm Brett Hull. You need more than size, speed, and a nasty shot to win at this game. The greatest hockey players know the key to success on the ice is how you think while you play.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flying Stupendos!
The crowd looked up to see the flips on the Flying Trapeze.
Hey, what are you eating?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran?
You know, 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins and whole grain flakes with bran.
2 scoops of raisins?
2 scoops.
The triple flip! The flip was out of control because the catcher went for a bowl of 2 scoops of raisins and Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
The mental aspect of hockey has always separated the greats from the rest of the pack. Becoming a student of the game, understanding your teammates' role in the opposition are some of the real challenges for any player.
Heads Up Hockey from Kellogg's.
Well, I think the veteran Van Helmen succumbing to a little bit of crowd pressure here. You be the judge as Lumme gets called for holding here. Gosh, if this is holding, there's been a few more of them that haven't been called. Lumme, I thought, did a good job standing clad up above the circles, but for his efforts, he gets 2 minutes.
Modano with a shot that deflects over top of the net. He gets it again, back to the line. Hatcher couldn't let a shot go, or Ledyard couldn't let the shot go. Modano has the puck. Modano is back in the point now with Broughton. Modano moving into the slot. His shot is blocked. And Ledyard tied up McIntyre, preventing him from racing after the loose puck. Here comes Russ Courtnall. He puts on the brakes, gets it back to the point. Ledyard with a shot. It deflects again high over top of the net. Russ Courtnall races to the corner. He moves in front, takes a shot. It's behind McLean, and McLean swung his arm back to knock it to the corner. It bounces in front of the net. McLean is still down. Players poking away at it, and finally it's kicked to the boards by Babbage. Now it's Broughton. Broughton back to the line. Decides to move in. He shoots. Loose puck in front of the net, and it's flipped down the ice by McIntyre. 48 seconds remaining in the penalty. Here's a chance as Hatcher was able to walk right in. He was looking initially to pass it off, then things opened up for him, and he was able to go right in and let a shot go. 30 seconds left in the penalty to Lumme, 4:40 remaining in the period. Courtnall steals the puck, and Courtnall goes down, takes a hit from Hatcher. Here's a shot fired wide by Gagne. Jeff Courtnall going after the loose puck. Cavallini got there first. Eklund comes back to help out. Cavallini picks up the puck. Moved up on the right side to Gagne. Gagne getting set. In too deep go the Stars. Eklund lets the shot go as he walks out. And standing his ground was McLean. It's flipped down the ice, and that kills off the penalty to Lumme. 3:57 remaining in the first period. 1-0, the Vancouver Canucks lead. Ludwig goes back after it. Games 3, 4, and 5, if a fifth game is necessary in this series, will be played in Vancouver on Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday. McPhee can't get around Babbage. The puck goes back to the net. McLean taking his time, looking for someone to give it to. Finally, Craven comes back to help him out. Again, McLean plays it. It's cut off by Paul Broughton. McLean pokes it to the other corner. Evison is bumped and knocked down by Diddick. And then McPhee bumps with Craven. The puck comes free. Centered. Picked off by Bure. He starts back. He has Adams with him. The two in across the line. Bure tried to slip it through to Adams. It was broken up by Broughton, and back after it goes Lume.
Boy, outstanding action here, Don. I've been enjoying just watching here. Some huge body checks. Dallas all around McLean. McLean stopping pucks regardless of which way he was faced.
Puck loose in front of the net. They score. Bure at the side of the net. Jams it past Andy Moe. Gets 2-0 Vancouver.
Well, I'll tell you, this is a real killer for Dallas. Dallas has just outplayed Vancouver for the last 3 or 4 minutes and have been solid over this entire period. And all of a sudden, a shot from the side of the net and whacking away at a rebound right here. Look at Memesso right on top of Moog. And then Bure, who jumps in very, very quickly, comes from the outside again. Not everybody on top right at once. Watch Bure sneak in from the right-hand side of your screen, and just before Moog goes to get it, a little bit like the Charlie Chaplin picking up his hat, whacked the hat before he got it, put the puck in the net just before Moog could get his glove down on it.
Vancouver Canucks with a 2-0 lead. And now they are content to flip it down the ice and going back after it. Cavallini, he couldn't clear. Modano picks it up. He's watched as he goes back to the net. Up on the wing, it's left there for Russ Courtnall. Courtnall winds up at a kick save by McLean. Penalty coming up as Modano was knocked down, and I think Jelena is going to go to the penalty box. 2:07 remains in the first period.
Do most race car drivers use Valvoline motor oil? Does champagne taste better than dust? Win a trip to the World Hockey Championships in Sweden. See stores for details.
Marty Jelena, who was the hero of Game 1, a big goal that ended up being the game winner, gets a holding penalty as Modano once again drives to the outside. Now remember, we said earlier in the first period, if Modano continues to drive, the fans start to notice it, the referee notices it, and even if it's the same haul down as it was, that wasn't a penalty. At times, it's called a penalty the second or third time. Modano got the break the second time, and Jelena's in the box.
Cavallini's shot ricochets to the corner. Ledyard pokes it back to the net. Gagne comes up with it. Gagne tries to move out front. It's poked away by McLean and flipped down the ice by Tim Hunter. Ledyard for Modano. He dodges a check. Moves it to Gagne into Russ Courtnall in front for Gagne, and he couldn't control it. And again, the Canucks are successful in clearing. Bure's 5th of the playoffs, coming at 17:20 from Memesso and Ronning for the 2-0 Vancouver lead. Gagne was cut off as he attempted to go back to the net for the return pass. Now Modano walks out front, can't shoot it. Puck is loose. Up high, the shot by Courtnall. Now Courtnall tries to move out front, flips it for Modano. He was knocked down as his shot went high. Courtnall has it again. Courtnall behind his back. Ledyard with a shot. Big save by McLean. 46 seconds remaining in the penalty. Ledyard fired it high and wide. 49 seconds remaining in the first period. Diddick can't control it. Centering attempt is blocked. Portnell tried to play it back to the point, and it skipped away from Ledyard. He goes to the bench. 33 seconds remaining in the period. And as it's fired in by Dallas, this is an icing call against the Stars. With another update, here's Steve.
And Don, it would appear that the Sharks have found some muddy water in Toronto. A pass from Gilmore up to Osborne. He uses Gilmore as a decoy, goes in deep, puts it behind Archer's Urbe. That makes it 3-0 Toronto. That goal coming at 15:29 of the second period. Coming up in our first intermission here, we'll be talking to the Stars' Mike Modano. And on our great wall tonight, we'll feature Teeter, Ted Kennedy, the great Maple Leaf. And we'll be talking to Commissioner Gary Bettman from the NHL. Don?
That all comes up in 29.6 seconds, the amount of time remaining in the first period, with the Canucks leading 2-0 on goals by Ronning and Bure. 16-12, the edge for the Stars in shots on goal. Shane Churla has not returned since the early hit by Pavel Bure.
In fact, Don, he's gone to the dressing room. Dallas only has 12 players on the bench right now. Churla's in the room trying to get his game back together.
Savage gets to the shoot in by Lawler, manages to move it ahead to Bure. Bure trying to dodge a check, and then is taken in against the boards and roughed up a little by Hatcher. Bure bumps with Ludwig. Now the Stars will fire it in, but they won't be able to get to it in time, and that will end the first period here at the Reunion Arena, and a physical first period with the Vancouver Canucks getting the only 2 goals.
Well, this was an interesting first. Vancouver obviously outscored Dallas, but I have got to say that Dallas outplayed the Canucks. This is one of those times where if you're a Canuck, you have to recognize that parts of your game have got to improve. If they don't improve and Dallas continues to play the same way, they will fight their way back into this hockey game. On the other hand, Dallas just has to play exactly the same style that they did in the first 20 minutes of hockey. It was clearly their best period of this young series.
So the Vancouver Canucks head to the dressing room in front of the Dallas Stars in Game 2 of this semifinal series by a score of 2-0.
At Dallas, Texas, Reunion Arena, site for Game 2 tonight in the best-of-7 Western semifinal between the Vancouver Canucks and the Dallas Stars, and the Canucks up 2-0 after 1 period in game number 2. Playoff coverage on CBC continues tomorrow with Game 3 from New York. In the Rangers-Washington series, game time is 4:30 Pacific. The Vancouver-Dallas series moves to the Pacific Coliseum for Game 3 on Friday, and our coverage will begin at 7:30 Pacific time. We'll have more on Molson Hockey Night in Canada, the Stanley Cup playoffs on CBC in just a moment. Dallas, Texas, where after 1 period of play in game number 2 in this series between the Vancouver Canucks and the Dallas Stars, it's been all Canucks on the scoreboard, but the period actually belonged to the Dallas Stars in a physical sense, but the score is 2-0 for Vancouver. Joining me now is NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. Gary, I'd like to get your thoughts on a very physical first period, very entertaining.
It was a very good game. The crowd was really into it. And the 2-0 score doesn't reflect the shots on goal or what actually happened on the ice. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 periods.
Is the commissioner allowed to root for any team? I know you're based in New York. You must be pleased with what you've seen so far from the Rangers.
We don't root for anyone other than the officiating team. I go in and root for the officials to have a good game. I root for our fans to go home feeling they've seen a good contest. But beyond that, it doesn't matter to me who wins.
Okay, Gary, let's talk about the officiating, what you've seen so far in the playoffs.
Actually, it's been pretty good. There haven't been too many complaints. There haven't been too many instances where we've been required to ask for hearings for supplementary discipline. Obviously, our officials have a tough job to do. Not everybody's always pleased with it, and one of the things that we're committed to doing is looking for ways to improve the officiating and make it more consistent, and that's a long-term goal. You can't do that overnight, but we're working on it.
We were looking at an interesting statistic the other day. There are more flagrant fouls in the NBA through 20 games than there are through 52 games of the NHL. You were once a high-ranking official in the NBA. Perhaps you can explain that to us as we put up the stat. And there you can see it. Through 20 games in the NBA, 52 in the NHL, 12 flagrant fouls in the NHL, 8 in the NBA. What's happening?
Darned if I know. You know, people misconstrue this game, particularly in the United States. It's stereotyped as being this or that. The fact is, fighting is really a very small part of the game. We are dealing very harshly with the supplementary discipline for extracurriculars, and that's something we're going to continue doing because the extracurriculars have no place in the game. We haven't had a bench clearing brawl, I think, since 1987, and I'd like to keep it that way. I'm feeling good about our game. I don't worry about the NBA's.
Hockey definitely has proven itself in Dallas and Miami. Might we see more franchises in the Sun Belt? I know this is one area that you would like to perhaps have more teams in.
Well, you know, interestingly enough, while I've gotten a great deal of interest from an expansion basis from a number of cities in the United States, the first goal that I have is to make sure we have 26 healthy, stable franchises. That's the goal, preferably where they are. I am not interested in moving any Canadian franchises to the United States. If there is expansion interest to be satisfied, it's going to be done by expansion, not by taking teams from Canada. And we're not ready to focus on expansion. I've got too much other problems to deal with that we've got to take care of the basics before we can worry about expansion. But I'm confident we will ultimately take care of the basics, and then we can worry about it.
Gary, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman has been my guest. After one period of play here at the Dallas Reunion Arena, the Canucks in front of the Stars, 2-0.
The new wind star leaves everything else in its shadow.
Ted Kennedy was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1966. Never could it be said that Kennedy got anywhere in the game of hockey easily. He worked with a tenacity that's unparalleled. The Leafs followed the example he set and provided their fans with 5 Stanley Cup titles. Ever a free skater, Kennedy's effort became the rallying point for Toronto teammates and for the fans, one of whom chanted, "Come on, Teeter," whenever he carried the puck. In all, he scored 231 goals, and during his final of 12 seasons in the NHL, he fittingly won the Hart Trophy as league MVP. Kennedy, our focus tonight on hockey's Great Wall, presented by Ford, makers of the 1995 WinStar, and a proud founding sponsor of the Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum.
I loved it.
Welcome back to Reunion Arena in Dallas, where the Vancouver Canucks lead the Dallas Stars 2-0, hoping to take a 2-0 lead in games back to Vancouver. Kirk McLean was tested 16 times in the first period, but kept the Stars off the scoreboard.
A little bit of backstroke to stop that one, and look at this, hits him in the back as well. It doesn't matter which way he's facing, he's stopping pucks. When you have things going your way, you keep them going that way. Look at the way he stops that one and puts the rebound to the corner. And then another stop right in the chest, follows the puck all the way around. Very, very physical as well in the last half of that period. Didick very strong on Evison, and a couple of other big checks. Momesso, Dallas did their share as well. But this was the one that drew most of the attention. Watch Churla as he's looking the other way. Burry comes in and really leans into him. Van Helmont is watching the play in the corner, and Churla is out cold on that play. Now he has gone to the dressing room right after that.
Cliff Ronning opened the scoring at the 3:50 mark. A beautiful move, unassisted. And then with Ronning driving to the net at 17:20 and being stopped with a shot from a sharp angle, Bure pounced on the rebound and pushed it past Andy Moog. And it's 2-0. Vancouver leading Dallas as we get set for the second period.
Well, when you get into playoffs and things don't go your way, or when they're going your way, it makes absolutely no difference The team that wins is the team that's able to focus on each separate shift, not think too far ahead and forget about what you did the period before. Get focused and then compete.
Jelena is upset by Lawler. Puck comes around the boards and Broughton redirects it down the ice, and Brown goes back after it for Vancouver. He tried to spring Jelena loose. It was too far for him. Meso runs into Hatcher. Lawler following up on the play, managed to move the puck ahead, and it's fired into Vancouver territory. Gagne is in forechecking, but the puck is banked off the boards past him. Jelena takes a hit from Ludwig. Ludwig has been very physical throughout this series, and now Jelena steps into Paul Broughton over on the other side. Centering attempt comes to the boards and then back to the line. Ludwig flips it to the corner. Gilchrist moves it out front. Barr tried to center for Broughton. It was knocked away by Bure. Adams dumps it back to the net. Tried to race in after it. He was cut off by Ludwig. Back comes Dallas. Two Broughtons attempting to combine, and the puck is deflected away from them, and going to the corner after it is Glenn. Glenn moves it up to the line. Adams can't get it out. This time Glenn is able to knock the puck away from Barr out to center ice. 18:26 remaining in the second period. Ledyard races up after the loose puck, fires it towards the net, and a glove save is made by McLean. McLean got into some trouble, but Linden coming back cut off a centering pass intended for Klatt. Here comes Bure. Bure dodges a check, then pokes it to the corner. It's knocked right back out by the Stars.
Well, fatigue was a bit of a factor in game one. Vancouver with a tough 7-game series. It wasn't a big concern for the Stars, but now all of a sudden Vancouver is well rested, and fatigue starts to leave the picture until this series wears on.
Klatt leaves it for Russ Courtnall. He tried to flip it in front for Medano. It was broken up and cleared. 17:40 remaining in the second. 2-0. Vancouver Canucks lead. Pass was beyond the reach of Klatt, and this will be an icing call against Dallas.
This portion of Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC was brought to you in part by Ford of Canada, where quality is job one.
Well, Pat Quinn was pretty happy with the way his team performed in game one. He said, I thought we were mentally sharp early. They were trying to be real aggressive, but as Quinn said, the Canucks were fortunate. They got a couple of goals, and then he said after they tied it, we seemed to regain our form and continue playing well. That is not Andy Moog, but there obviously is a fan here who comes to the game well protected.
Well, if you're not going to watch what's on the ice, you need to wear a mask.
Craven shot blocked by Moog. Cavallini picks up the rebound ahead to Eklund. Eklund fires it to the corner. Brown will get there ahead of Gagne. Brought out now by Courtnall. He has Lafayette with him. Courtnall moves in. He shoots, fires wide. At this time, we say hello to viewers across the country who have been watching the action at Maple Leaf Gardens between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the San Jose Sharks, and after 2 periods, Toronto leads 3-0. Here it's 2-0. The Vancouver Canucks leading the Dallas Stars. I'm Don Whitman along with Jim Poplinski and Steve Armitage.
Well, Vancouver just had a nice 2-on-1 from a fair distance. Courtnall makes what looks like the selfish play, but it's the right play. Watch the way Cox's wrists a pass, and he's looking left. Shoots the puck, hoping to catch Moog off guard. Vancouver has been great on the road in the playoffs, not just this year, but since April 24th, 93. Winnipeg had no success when Vancouver came into their building. Los Angeles a little bit more, but they still won a game at the Forum. Calgary, you saw those numbers, and now Dallas. Great numbers for the Canucks on the road.
Hunter takes it away from Barr. Hunter gets it back again. McIntyre can't control it. Ryan Glenn's shoot-in is knocked down by Hatcher. Hatcher for Gilchrist. Gilchrist working against Glenn. His shot is deflected back of the net. McPhee spun around by Diduck, and Toski overskates. Then McPhee steps into him. The puck comes free. Centered for McPhee, and McPhee had Antosky all over him as he attempted to go for the net, and McLean covered up the loose puck.
Well, we might get a few more scrums before this game is over. Antosky and McPhee getting physical in the corner.
2-0. Vancouver leads. 16:28 remains in the period.
As he tried to go to the net, he did a little bit of the Texas two-step. Here's a look at it. Antosky throws him off, and McPhee starts to lose his balance. And he's down and back up. And to his credit, the puck comes to him, and he almost gets an opportunity.
Hatcher has an opportunity, and a save by McLean. Hatcher has it again. Again, he'll try and walk in. Courtnall trying to prevent him from getting there. He goes back to the net instead. Hatcher, a big, strong defenseman, and he uses that size and strength initially to fend off Courtnall, but now Courtnall has it. Courtnall checked by Modano. The puck loose. Linden couldn't get to it. Eklund does, and again, the Dallas net has been knocked off its supports. Didick, who has throughout the playoffs been very effective in driving towards the opposition goal, as he jumps up in the play, collided with the net and took it off its supports.
Now, I spoke with Jim Gregory in between periods and talked about the net. He showed me the specifications that are required to moor the nets, and for some reason this arena does not quite meet those specifications, so that will be dealt with perhaps if game 6 is necessary here. Got to remember that format. 2-3-2. Another look at a net going off that perhaps would not if they were anchored a little more securely.
Both series in the Western Conference, 2-3-2 affairs. The Toronto Maple Leafs hoping to go back to San Jose all even, and of course the Vancouver Canucks would dearly love to head home with a 2-0 lead. Vancouver has a 5-14 record in the second game of all the playoff series they have been involved in. They can make that 6-14 tonight. Russ Courtnall has a shot deflecting up into the stands.
Well, and of the 5 they've won, they've gone on to win 3 of those series and lose 2. And of the 14 that they've lost the second game in, they've gone on to win 3 and lose 11. So clearly the odds are in winning the second game. When they split the series, they're 4-6, and if they win both, they have not lost. And a look at game 2 stats. Those numbers can really turn your mind inside out.
Do you think Pat Quinn worries about those numbers?
It kind of depends. Only if he has absolutely nothing else to think about.
1:12 remaining in the 4-on-4 situation as Brown is pressured back to the net by Broughton, so he leaves it there for Hedican. Rink wide pass for Brown. Bure with a long shot. Knocked to the corner by Andy Moe. Raven has it out front for Bure. He hit the post. Another shot by Brown as he partially fanned on the rebound, and it went wide. Pavel Bure came so close to making it a 3-0 Vancouver lead. Puck comes free for Ludwig. With Russ Courtnall leading the attack. He winds up, and it goes off Hedican. Courtnall from a sharp angle took a shot. It was blocked, and back comes Hedican. He pushes it ahead to Bure. Bure has Craven with him. He moves in. Bure shoots, and that went off the defenseman Ledyard and back of the net. The Canucks have had a couple of 2-on-1s. Bure again being involved physically as he bumps in the corner and then is tripped up. And Helleman was looking, but there was no raised arm indicating a penalty. Bure isn't particular about who he goes up against. He was bumping that time with Hatcher. Courtnall leaves it for Lume. Lume walking in, and he was checked from behind by Paul Broughton. Now Courtnall with a shot, and that's up high on Andy Moog. And finally the Stars clear. The team's back at 5-on-5.
Well, your comments about Bure are very accurate. He does a great job on Hatcher in the corner. A huge play by Broughton there on another 21, Lume, to come back defensively and stop the Vancouver defenseman from a clear scoring chance.
Gagne had some problems picking up the bank pass off the boards. Courtnall sweeps it ahead. Courtnall moves into the slot. His shot is blocked in front of the net, and it's put down the ice by Cavallini. Lume goes back after it. 13:46 remaining in the second. 2-0, the Vancouver Canucks lead. Adams has it. Adams takes a hit from Groton as he shoots it in. It's left back of the net for Lawler. Lawler did not dress for game one. He is in uniform tonight in place of Richard Matvichuk. Lawler, a late season addition to the Dallas Stars from the San Jose Sharks. He and Smolik came over to the Stars with Ulf Dahlen going to San Jose. 13:18 remaining in the second. 2-0 Vancouver leads.
Hey, this new Pepsi Max is really something, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it tastes of regular cola and a third of the calories.
I'll grab that for a second.
Yeah, sure.
What are you doing?
I want to see if they filled it up a third.
Can't you just enjoy the taste
It's
without...
the only way to explain this calorie thing.
You're not going to open it, are you?
Oh, don't worry. You see, the lower pressure created by the chilling will keep the expansionary forces of the carbon dioxide at bay.
Who's going to open it?
It's elementary.
New Pepsi Max.
Oh, jeez.
All the taste, 1/3 the calories.
Definitely the sportiest sedan I've ever seen. It just reeks of performance just to look at it. ABS is fantastic. It's got that bulletproof finish, aerodynamic.
The inside of it is designed for a person who's really focused on driving. There's this big cliff there with all these mountains and trees.
You've got such a good view up here, you sometimes forget that there's an extra couple of seats in the trunk behind you.
And you guys recreated my perfect automotive fantasy.
Well, either Andy Moog knows his angles perfectly, or the goalpost made a big save. He hardly moves as Burry got a perfect feed from Craven and dinged that one off the pipe.
Puck is loose at the line, picked up by Evison. Evison throws it rink wide for Ludwig. Ludwig takes a shot wide from a sharp angle. Evison had his shot partially blocked. It goes loose in the corner. Ronning can't get up, out, but Didick helps out, moves it ahead to Memesso. He dumps it to the corner. Back after it goes Jelena, but Moog got there first. Didick attempted to center, and the puck hit the pad of Andy Moog, and he held it right against the post to his left.
You know, you can kind of sense when a team's coming together if you spend a little bit of time around them. And just watching the Vancouver Canucks and having spent the 7 games watching the Canucks against Calgary, these guys are starting to come together. Go from the first period to period number 2, where Dallas outplayed them at times in the first. The second has clearly been Vancouver's period. All of a sudden, their shots are coming on. They're continuing to take the body. And a team in the Stars that was very disciplined throughout the regular season now are the guys that are trying to catch up. I don't see much from the Stars as far as taking the edge from Vancouver. That's clearly in the Canucks' favor for this game and potentially for the series.
Platt moves it up along the boards. He's bumped by Antosky. Antosky went down. The puck was fired in, and Antosky was still in across the blue line offside. With another update, here's Steve.
Well, the goals are now coming fast and furious for the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Sharks. They had difficulty in game 1, but not in game 2. Watch this. It's a power play goal. Dave Ella, beautiful pass to Gilmore. He gets his 3rd of the playoffs, and the Leafs are in front of the Sharks 4-0.
And here it's 2-0. Vancouver leading the Stars with 12:35 remaining in the second period. Cavallini goes back after it. Antosky is after him. Antosky bumps him in against the boards. Hunter intercepts the pass. Cavallini tries to tie him up as the puck goes back to the net. Thatcher is knocked down by McIntyre.
Well, here's something to watch for, Don. When you're behind, particularly in a playoff game, you want to be the instigator. Look how often Vancouver is initiating the check versus the Stars right now. The last 30 seconds, if you can bring that to your memory, Vancouver were the guys that initiated every one of the half a dozen body checks.
Platt couldn't get a shot away. The puck comes to the line. Ledyard is able to keep it in. But now the Vancouver Canucks start away, led by Tim Hunter. Hunter goes in. Ledyard was able to escape his check. The puck is loose. Ledyard jumping up in the play, couldn't control it as Hunter hooked his stick from behind. Tim Hunter The oldest member of the Vancouver Canucks and their most experienced playoff performer shoots it in, goes to the bench on the chain. Back comes McPhee. McPhee trying to work his way through, and he's knocked off the puck by Brian Glynn. Ludwig couldn't keep it in at the point. Ledyard goes back after it. Ledyard being watched. Now he starts out slowly for McPhee. McPhee couldn't handle it. It goes all the way down the ice. McLean will dump it to the corner where it's picked up by Captain Trevor Linden. For Bure. Bure gets it back to Lume. Lume goes to the net, takes the shot, the rebound in front, and McPhee pushes it ahead to Eklund. He's checked. Lume getting back to take the puck from him. Bure for the net, and the pass doesn't get through. Ludwig broke that up neatly.
Boy, there's another good example. Don Lume's leading the rush, and he catches Eklund coming back.
Shot by Linden, and the save by Andy Moe. Bure takes it back to the net. Out front, and the puck is fired just wide by Adams. Lawler plays it to the right side to Paul Broughton. And in this second period, the fans getting a little impatient as the Stars have been under a great deal of pressure in their own end.
Well, and we haven't heard that yet. The Stars fans here very, very understanding. I mentioned that in the first period, you know, in reading the newspapers yesterday. I was surprised that nobody berated the Stars too much. They were undisciplined at times, but the writers really had not a whole lot bad to say about their team. If this had been one of the teams in Canada, there would have been some different articles written, I assure you.
Hatcher stepped into Courtnall, spun him around. Courtnall lost his stick in the process. He goes to the bench to get a new piece of equipment, takes the pass, dumps it to the corner. Going after it is Lafayette with Craven. The puck comes free, back out to center ice. 9:23 remaining in the second period. 2-0, the Canucks lead the Stars. The Stars in the series against St. Louis did not score a first period goal. Courtnall is checked. Nice move by Lume as Courtnall attempted to split the two defensemen. The puck goes to the corner. Lume gets it again, and he'll fire it out of the zone. And as Modano touches it, it's offside. He was just in across the Vancouver blue line. 8:59 remaining in the second period.
Well, Andy Moog has had almost a 3-week vacation. Didn't play in any of the initial games against St. Louis. Kirk McLean, on the other hand, has not had a vacation, but he's had just as much fun as being on vacation. When you're winning games in the playoffs and making big saves, at times some saves when you're almost unconscious, well, you get a great feeling. Team is happy to have you there. You're playing to your potential. McLean is doing just that. A little bit different feeling for McLean right now than what Moog has, trying to get back from the 2-goal deficit in his first game.
Puck is fired wide. Ludwig from the point manages to keep it in. Jelena fighting there with Broughton. It comes free from McPhee. Back to Broughton. Broughton fanned on the backhand. Now the puck is fed ahead to Ronning, but there's a whistle and a penalty coming up against the Vancouver Canucks. 8:26 left in the period.
Between Momesso and Ludwig, a few little slaps exchanged, nothing too serious. Ludwig looking to dance with almost anyone, and he's picked some of the bigger guys on the ice. Didick has got a cut under his left eye, and I can't tell you how that happened.
Well, this all started after the penalty had been called. Ronning thought he was on a breakaway, but there was a whistle as the result of a penalty behind the play. And then Ludwig, well after the whistle had sounded, bumped into Ronning against the boards, and very quickly Gerald Didick came rushing to his defense, and Didick obviously got cut underneath the eye.
Well, this game has the potential to take some extra time, not necessarily from an extra period, but from some extracurricular activities. Didick with a slight cut. Now when the next period rolls around, if that requires any stitches, Vancouver has got their team doctor with them. slip into the dressing room. That one looks like it would only take a couple, and if you're less than 4 or 5, you might as well just have them sew it up without any freezing. By the time they stick a couple of needles in you, it hurts more than having the suture run through. And if you get a guy that's quick, like the surgeons are that follow the teams, they'll sew you up and make it nice and neat, and you don't even need any freezing, and they can do it right in the dressing room. There's no point in going to the hospital whether you're on the road or at home. Here's the original penalty on Ronning as he hooks down Broughton. Got stretched out. Anytime you get stretched out, if the guy in front of you falls, you're giving the referee an opportunity to make the call. Ronning did that, and as his mask fogs up, Quinn is looking for an interpretation from Babbage.
Well, Bob Gainey, after game 1, had some words with Mike Modano about a giveaway in the first period that resulted in a goal by Jeff Courtnall. And when the team was skating yesterday, he had a long conversation with Modano. He was asked what was said. He said, "Nothing I want to share."
Well, you know, he's kind of coy, and I thought it was neat too about that. He said, well, we haven't talked very often. So, you know, if that's the case, that there was words of a serious nature exchanged. Modano and Gainey, I think 2 years ago, had a little bit of a discussion where both guys cleared the air somewhat, and Modano has really risen to the occasion, has scored the same number of points this year, but was much more of a factor. Words like maturity come into play when you talk about Modano and what he has meant to the Dallas Stars this year. We clearly saw that in the first round of the playoffs, and Gainey now hoping that his captain regroups after dishing up a nice pass to Courtnall in game 1. Can he come back and improve his game to lead them to victory in game 2?
Mike Modano looks on as the penalties are announced.
Playoff coverage on CBC continues tomorrow with Game 3 from New York in the Rangers-Washington series. Game time is 4:30 Pacific. The Vancouver-Dallas series moves to the Pacific Coliseum for Game 3 on Friday. Our coverage begins at, note the time, 7:30 Pacific.
8:26 the time remaining. A lady by the name of Sari, the public address announcer here at the Reunion Arena, the only woman public address announcer in the National Hockey League. The end result is a minor penalty assessed against Gerald Diduck that will put the Vancouver Canucks down a man. Cavallini moves in deep. Courtnall is at the side of the net. Cavallini to Broughton. Back to Cavallini. His shot is deflected to the corner. Modano goes after it. Modano comes all the way back to the line. Over to Broughton. Broughton back to Cavallini. Over to Modano. Modano fires it over to Broughton. Broughton works his way back to Cavallini. His shot, that's deflected. McLean comes out of the net to play it, and McIntyre will flip it down the ice.
Oh, Vancouver doing a nice job keeping Dallas to the outside. Dallas has had a pretty successful power play, particularly in the St. Louis series. They were better than 1 for 4 with the Canucks, and in part due to great penalty killing. It's been a reason why they won game 1. We'll see if that continues here in game 2.
Well, many people coming into this series were talking about the sibling rivalry between the Courtnalls, Jeff and Russ. And so far, through the first game and a half, the older brother has had the edge on his younger rival.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny. Timmy Hunter came into a conversation that I was having with Jeff Courtnall a couple of days ago, and I said, you know, how'd you get along with your brother as you were growing up? He said, oh, when we were kids, we used to fight like cats and dogs. He said it was just awful. And I said, that changed? He said, oh yeah, when we got to play junior together for Victoria, we got into a number of rumbles, and we really would come to each other's aid. And when Hunter hears this, he's walking by and he says, so if I goon your brother, are you going to come after me? And Jeff said, no, not until the series is over.
Linden against Eklund. 51 seconds remaining in the penalty to Diduck. 19-19 the shots on goal, but the Vancouver Canucks have a 2-0 lead on first period goals by Ronning and Bure. Eklund can't control it. And the fans at the Reunion Arena are growing just a little impatient with this power play of the Stars. Courtnall, checked by Medano. Platt has problems as he tries to move in, and it's flipped back down the ice. 22 seconds remaining. During the regular season, they didn't score a goal in the power play in 4 meetings against the Canucks. They had one in Game 1. Hatcher at the point, gets it back to Eklund. Platt is in front of the net. Hatcher gets set, fakes the shot, then tried to slip it over to Eklund. It was broken up and flipped out of the zone. That was a soft pass intended for Didick as they realized that he was ready to step onto the ice, but the Dallas player got there first, and then the Stars bring it in offside.
Well, this is a good example, although there was a power play, of a completely different system to play against. The Stars move the puck around pretty well on this power play opportunity, but Vancouver keeps them to the outside. Nobody moving, holding the puck too long. You're better to make the decision quickly, and all of a sudden a missed pass, poor execution, and Vancouver takes advantage. Shortly thereafter, the Stars did not gain the zone. Medano tried to jump in, but when you've got big black uniforms and guys that are 6'4", 220 standing across it, they can almost touch the boards with either hand. You have to have some speed to do it, and if you think you're going to do it one-on-one, it ain't going to happen.
Steal by Craven, the shot up high. Adams leads the rebound for Craven. Another shot by Andy Moog.
Well, Moog hasn't been tested much in the last few minutes, but boy, did he come up with a couple of great saves. The first one almost knocked him down, but he got back up, and all of a sudden he is faced again with the same shooter, but this time there's none of his players around. Craven stops, and as Adams drives to the net, he gets the rebound. Nice little play by Adams. And Moog, who is regrouped to the center of the net, came out to the top of the crease to cut the angle off perfectly. Took it in the chest and picked up the rebound as well. A good save by Moog, who hadn't been worked much for a few minutes.
Ledger flips it around the boards for Barr. He's checked. Craven has it. Craven flips it back to the net. Bure attempting to center. It's knocked away from him. Bure steps into his man, bumping Ledyard in against the boards. Now Bure has it, dodges a check from Evason. He's watched by Evason as he takes it back in his own zone. Goes rink wide to Babbage. Babbage tried to move it up the middle to Craven. It was knocked away from him. And Bure coming back, picks it up. Can't get it out against Evason. Evason was looking for Barr. It was behind him. Now Hatcher takes a shot from a bad angle, and that's gloved and held by McLean.
Oh, Vancouver moving the puck very, very quickly, and as much as this sold-out building is upset with what they're seeing right now, if you are in the Canuck organization or you're cheering for them or you appreciate a good game plan, boy, oh boy, very, very solid. Vancouver doing a great job in taking Dallas out of the game. The Stars have not continued with the game that they started in the first period, and Vancouver, in fact, has increased the tempo of their game. They've been more disciplined, and as a result, it's still 2-0.
Gus Courtnall trying to cut the deficit in half as his shot go up high. Hatcher gets it back to Courtnall. He attempted to center, comes back to the line. A long shot deflects off a leg to the corner. Platt behind the net, trying to move out front. Lume takes him in against the boards. Puck goes the other way, and McLean comes out of the net to play it. He's been very active in handling the puck in tonight's hockey game.
When you start to get more and more confidence, that's when you get to another level, doing a little bit more, and that's McLean tonight.
Platt looks back to the point. Hatcher couldn't get a shot away as he runs into some traffic. Lume and Memesso were there. So was Ronning. Lume comes up with the puck. 4:36 remaining in the second period.
A great example of what Vancouver is doing on that last play. They've got 3 Canucks around 2 Stars in the Vancouver end of the rink.
Broughton with a shot. Memesso was doing a good job of tying up Gagner as he attempted to go to the net. Rink wide pass for Bure. Bure going in on Andy Moog, and Moog makes the save. He had a little problem in accepting the rink wide pass, but with his speed, had he been able to take it cleanly, he would have been home free. Here he is again. This shot goes wide.
Well, what plays like that show you is you can still play solid defense and generate offense and exciting offense. Vancouver very strong defensively, and because they've been moving the puck quickly, all of a sudden Bury's left open, and he's got what amounted to almost a clear breakaway.
Bury was involved in another bumping match with Cavallini. Then he steps into Gagne in the neutral zone as the puck is fired down the ice. Brown goes back after it for Linden. Linden is looking cross ice for Adams, but Adams was going to the bench in a change. Now Hatcher moves it in on the right side. Back of the net, Barr is checked by Hedican. McPhee feeds the point. Here's Hatcher's shot. It's blocked before it gets to the net. And that has happened a lot tonight. The Vancouver defensemen have been doing a good job of preventing those shots from getting through.
A little bit of sacrifice, good timing, and great positional play. And when McLean is making the big saves and you stop a few more for him, it makes it awfully difficult to catch up when you're down by a pair.
2:45 remaining in the second period. First period goals by Ronning and Bure continuing to stand up for Vancouver. Babbage circles to avoid a check. Craven plays it to an open wing. Mike Lawler will have to chase it down in his own zone. After the four-game sweep of the St. Louis Blues, I think many hockey fans in Dallas thought that they might have just as easy a time with the Vancouver Canucks, particularly after Vancouver went a grueling 7 games with Calgary.
They had a couple of teams that were very, very confident. But as we said at the start of this telecast, completely different styles, and Dallas still has not adjusted to the different style that the Canucks have thrown at them and have been successful using.
1:57 is the time left in the
shot. Right wing has to pick it up on his backhand. He turns to the forehand. That costs him a step as the puck bobbles. Watch this guy shoot on the fly. Moog had a pretty good angle, and Dallas cut him off somewhat, but he's from a standstill and still managed to get a great shot away. Good defense, turn the puck over quickly, and some excellent wheels generate a scoring chance.
Well, you expect Bure to score goals, and he has one tonight, and has ricocheted one off the post. But you really don't expect him to play as physical as he has it. He's been bumping everybody. Eklund leaves it there for Courtnall. Courtnall had to circle back to the line, trying to get away from Bure. Lawler jumped in, fired a shot that went wide. Bure gets it along the boards, and he fires it rink wide. Lawler goes back after it. 1:36 remaining in the period. Adams almost stole it. Courtnall dodges a check. Eklund tried to get it back to him. It was beyond his reach. Now Linden picks it up, and he starts away. 4-on-2. Adams in across the line, back to Linden. Linden shoots, and it's blocked by Lawler. Linden gets it again for Bure, and Bure couldn't handle it. I think he initially thought about one-timing it on the feed. Eklund picks up the puck just outside the line. He brings it in offside. With another update, here's Steve.
Don, the power play unit has been big for the Leafs tonight. They get their third goal with a man advantage. Watch Wendell Clark with a little bit of patience. Arthur Zerbe loses sight of it. Clark is there to drive it in, his third of the playoffs. That coming at 11:11 of the third period. It's been all Leafs. They enjoy a 5-0 lead over the Toothless Sharks.
Now this is where you start to watch the out-of-town scoreboard a little bit. You're up one game on the road, you've got a 2-goal lead, and you've got 21 minutes and 9 seconds of regular time to play, and you know that your next opponent, if you can advance, is tied in that series. So it's a nice boost, providing you stay focused, to try to make short work of the guys you face right now and hope that the other series goes longer and longer. Don't think too far ahead. When you're playing like Vancouver's playing right now, disciplined and such, boy, it can be a real nice shot in the arm.
Talking about shots, Lafayette He exchanges a shot back of the net with Neil Broughton. But nothing serious develops out of that with 55.8 seconds remaining.
Well, the less of this that you can have when you're ahead, the better. Broughton gives it an accidental slap in the face. Lafayette, who's relatively new in the playoffs and in the National Hockey League, reacts as 99% of people would. But if you can stop yourself when you're up and winning, it's a little simpler to keep the other guys down. Broughton, for some reason, went straight to the bench after that stoppage of play.
There's a Canadian Football League connection with both of these teams. Nathan Lafayette's father, David, was a tight end at SFU and played briefly with the BC Lions in 1970. And Hal Ledyard was a quarterback with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the 60s. He was also with Saskatchewan, and he's the father of Grant Ledyard of the Dallas Stars. I talked about the only woman public address announcer in the National Hockey League. She goes by the name of Sari here at the Reunion Arena.
Well, Don, when you told me that we had the best looking PA announcer in the league here this morning, I was kind of concerned, quite frankly.
You were wondering a little, were you?
I'm glad we've clarified that.
Hatcher comes in to knock Bure down. Craven gets the puck again, is shot right on, and Babbage was in behind Moog and couldn't get at the rebound. Now Gagne leaves it there for Cavallini. Cavallini is checked by Bure, and Bure races after the puck. Bure against Hatcher, trying to go around the defenseman. He does! He scores! Beautiful play by Pavel Bure as he used his speed to get around Hatcher.
Well, Don, this hurts more than the check that Shane Churla took. Bure gets hit right here by Hatcher and hit pretty well as he goes down. But watch him get back in this play and watch him fight off Hatcher as he drives to the net. You talked about the physical play of Bure in this hockey game, Don. Gets the left leg out and just drives to the net. How does he hold on to this puck for so long? Moog plays him almost perfectly. He needed another 4 inches on his goal stick. Even then, he may not have had him. A perfectly executed play by Bure. 3-0. Only 15 seconds left to go in this period.
Well, it's obvious when you see plays like that why he was able to put together back-to-back 60-goal seasons. Hedeken now gets it over to Brown, and Brown will take his time before flipping it out, and that will finish period 2.
Well, tempers have flared a little bit now and again, but Vancouver should be very calm going into the third period. They have improved the level of their play and kept up with their production over the second 20. The Stars have gotten off their game and lost their discipline, and this one is a huge spike in the Stars' coffin for game 2. Bure continues to play physically and score goals. Dallas has not reciprocated in kind at all after they were manhandled in the first period. And a big check by Bure on Churla.
Bure's 6th from Craven for a 3-0 lead. Now to find out about our second intermission, here's Steve.
As a matter of fact, Don, Nathan Lafayette, who left the game a little early in that second period, is sitting with me. He'll be guesting with me during our second period intermission. We'll also keep you up to date on the Sharks-Leafs game, where the Leafs are leading the Sharks 5-0 in the third period. Molson Hockey Night in Canada, the Stanley Cup playoffs on CBC, continues in just a minute. Vancouver Canucks lead Dallas 3-0 after 2 periods in game number 2 of this series. Joining me now is Nathan Lafayette of the Vancouver Canucks. And Nathan, you and I were just chatting, and you said that this is a different kind of physical game than, say, the Calgary series was. In what way is it different?
There seems to be a little bit more going on after the whistles in this game. It's just the kind of way the series has unfolded. The first game was pretty clean. Then this game, a little bit of shoves and pushes here and there after the whistle, but it's all honest hockey.
You sat here and watched Pavel Bure score his second goal of the night, and you just shook your head and said, he's amazing. Feet are so quick.
Yeah, he accelerated down the wing there and came like right across the crease, straight across, and was able to tuck it back in. He's a great player.
Now, this is your first Stanley Cup playoff go-round. I'd like to get your thoughts. How is it different from regular season?
It's just, it's funny, the exhibition schedule goes by and you think, wow, this is the NHL, and then this is my first year, so you get into the regular season and it goes up another level. And then entering the playoffs here, it's just gone up a completely new level, and it's just really exciting hockey.
Yesterday in Dallas, you did what many of us have done when we come to this city. You went to the Texas Schoolbook Depository. Explain what you saw and your feelings about that historic place now.
Well, it's just an exhibit they have where they outline everything concerning JFK and his assassination and everything. And it was really, really interesting because you got to see where the shots came from and the alleged other shots came from. And it actually, like you said, raised more questions than it answered, I think.
It does, doesn't it? You tend to think if there wasn't a conspiracy when you went in there, you come out thinking, maybe, just maybe.
Yeah, it completely outlines what happened, but it never really addresses why it happened and who was making it happen.
Nathan Lafayette, thanks for guesting with us. Good luck in the third period.
Okay, thank you.
Nathan Lafayette of the Vancouver Canucks has been my guest. The Canucks leading the Dallas Stars 3-0 on a pair of goals from Pavel Bure after 2 periods in game number 2 here in Dallas. Welcome back to Dallas, where after 2 periods of play in game number 2 in this series between Vancouver and Dallas, it has been all Canucks. Pavel Bure with a couple of goals in giving the Vancouver Canucks a 3-0 lead. This started out as a very physical game between the Canucks and the Stars, and it appeared that Dallas was getting the better of the physical, but the Canucks have capitalized on their scoring opportunities and have a 3-0 lead over Dallas after 2 periods of play. If they should win this, of course, they will take a 2-0 lead back to Vancouver for games 3, 4, and 5 at the Pacific Coliseum starting on Friday. Now let's get you up to date on the situation in Toronto, where it was game 2 between the Leafs and the Sharks at Maple Leafs Gardens tonight. The Leafs make it 1-0 with a power play goal, 2-man advantage. Mironov with a bullet drive. It goes over the shoulder of Arturs Urbe. Gilmore and Ellett assist. The Leafs outshot the Sharks 13-3 in the first period. They make it 2-0 in the second period. A shot from Todd Gill. Mike Gartner there for the rebound. He goes high, his second of the playoffs. They make it 3-0 with a shorthanded goal. Mark Osborne uses Gilmore as the decoy right there. Osborne's second of the playoffs, 15-29 of the second period. Now in the third period, the Leafs collect their second power play goal. Ellett to Doug Gilmore, and he gets his third, and it's the Leafs 4-0 over the Sharks. They make it 5-0 with a third power play goal. Wendell Clark gets his third of the playoffs. Urbe loses sight. Clark doesn't. He goes high, and that makes it 5-0. But the Sharks finally put one behind Felix Potvin. It is Gaetan Duchesne. Watch the rebound come right out. Duchesne gets up off his knees and puts it behind Potvin, so the final score goes to 5-1. But a big victory for the Leafs tonight. They needed it to take that series back to the West Coast, tied at 1. The Leafs over the Sharks, 5-1. Here in Dallas, it's all Canucks on the scoreboard. They lead the Stars 3-0. More on Molson Hockey Night in Canada in just a moment.
Dallas, Texas, where the Vancouver Canucks lead the Stars by a score of 3-0. I'm Don Whitman with Jim Poplinski. Steve Armitage is in our intermission studio. And Jim, Pavel Bure has been putting on quite a show for the fans in Texas this evening.
Well, he was fortunate that he didn't get a 5-minute major for elbowing Churla in the first period. But to his credit, he has played the same physical game that he started. Did the same thing in Calgary as well and throughout the Calgary series. But boy, has he been a dominant force tonight. Taking bodies, making plays, scoring goals. Now this has happened after a big hit down at the other end by Hatcher, and he still puts the leg out, knows he's going to get whacked or chopped or something, but he's committed. I got to hand it to Bure. I wasn't sure whether he had it in him to do that. He did. He showed me something. Tremendous speed, tremendous will, tremendous ability to compete, and he deserves a big hug from Craven on that play and from the rest of his teammates. He has set the tone. He might get 3 stars tonight.
The Canucks opened the scoring at the 3:50 mark of the first period. A goal by Cliff Ronning unassisted. Then Bure poked in a loose puck at 17:20 to make it 2-0. And then you just saw the beautiful second period goal at 19:39 by Bure, with Craven drawing the assist. Bure was held goalless through the first 4 games of the Calgary series. He finally scored in Game 5 and, of course, had the overtime winner in Game 7 in double overtime that put the Calgary Flames away. Bure had a goal in Game 1 of this series and a goal in 2 goals tonight and he now has 6 for the playoffs. And Shane Churla, who left after the hit from Bure in the first period, did not play in the second period, is back and apparently ready for the third.
Well, we'll be curious to see how he competes now. He's a real force for this team. The crowd love him. In fact, Churla rivals Medano for the most favorite son here in Dallas. We'll see if his presence on the ice can turn what was a booing crowd towards the end of the second period into one that supports the hometown team.
4th consecutive sellout at Reunion Arena in the playoffs for the Stars. 16,914 watching the action, and unless they can pick up the level of their game, they might be watching their final game of this season, with the next 3 going to Vancouver. They're playing 4-on-4 for 50 seconds. Brown shoots it in. It's left back of the net for Cavallini. Lead pass now for Russ Courtnall. He can't get around Hedican. Brown also got a piece of him. Centering attempt picked off by Linden. Linden takes his time trying to work against Russ Courtnall and move it out. Courtnall ties him up. Hedican tries to reverse things. It's cut off by Cavallini. He plays it back to the point. Hatcher opted not to shoot. Looked for Russ Courtnall instead. Now Hatcher gets it back at the line. Hatcher moves in. He shoots. Save, and the rebound is knocked wide by Gagne. Then he tried to slip it back to the point, but Cavallini had dashed in too far. Cavallini is checked as the penalized players come out of the penalty box, but it was an offside call against Dallas.
Well, I got talking with an old pal of mine that I played junior hockey with here, a fellow by the name of Steve Harrison. He's coaching in Fort Worth now, and he's watched this entire series and the St. Louis series, and the first thing he said to me after I saw him tonight was how much different Vancouver plays than St. Louis plays. Medano is noticing that. Look at the number of shifts, even ice time virtually the same. Medano with no shots in the second period. Bure with a huge number of hits and an equivalent number of shots, much more output on the scoreboard. And Medano is not adjusted to a completely different Vancouver team than the role he was on against the St. Louis Blues.
Well, we addressed that issue at the start of our telecast this evening as Clapp tries to work his way through. Diddick ties him up, and that's exactly what we talked about. The bigger, stronger, more physical Vancouver defenseman, such as Gerald Diddick, who can control a player trying to drive through the slot. Medano's shot, gloved by McLean. Adams, who partially blocked the shot by Medano, lost his stick. It went flying off to the corner, and he's playing without a stick as the puck comes up along the boards for Craven. Craven takes a hit from Barr, but manages to flip it down the ice. Then he goes to the bench as the Vancouver Canucks make a complete line change. 3-0 Vancouver leads with 17:42 remaining in the third period. McPhee battles with Lume. Lume on the backhand flips it down the ice. Memesso racing after it. Memesso trying to move it in front for Jelena, and Memesso was knocked down. The puck knocked to the boards. Moog and Smolik got mixed up. They mishandled it, but the Dallas Stars were able to bring it out. Barr with a shot. The big rebound bounced away from Lawler, and Jelena starts back with big Memesso coming down the right side. He dumps it in, and then he's upset by Barr. Memesso goes to the bench again. Andy Moog having some problems in his clearing attempt initially, but he gets some help from a teammate. Brought down the ice by Paul Broughton. A long shot handled by McLean. Hedican skates away from Broughton. Hedican tried to feed it through to McIntyre beyond his reach. And Toski races in to get it, and Toski tried to move out front, and Andy Moog grabbed it and held it long enough to draw a whistle from referee Andy Van Hellemond. And exactly what Nathan Lafayette was talking about in the interview with Steve Armitage after the whistle. A lot of pushing and shoving, jabbing, talking. Nothing much more serious.
Straight sellout in Dallas. 18 of the last 19 have been sellouts, and 21 of 26 since December 27th.
Babbage breaks his stick as he takes the shot. McIntyre was knocked down at the side of the net. Babbage goes over and gets a new piece of equipment. Broughton with a long shot and its gloves. McLean holds it, then the face-off will take place in the Vancouver zone. Well, at the World Championships today, a big victory for the United States. They beat Russia for the first time since the 1980 Winter Olympic Games. Sweden defeated Italy. Now tomorrow, Canada plays Czechoslovakia. Finland goes against Austria in quarterfinal action.
And we've got one of the players from the U.S. Olympic team that defeated Russia at Lake Placid in 1980. Neil Broughton just about to take the face-off.
Puck comes back to the line. Gagne gets it over to Ledyard. He can't move it. It passes too far for Courtnall. And then the Stars are called on a two-line pass.
Lafayette, one of a few players on both teams that came into the playoffs with 0 National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoff experience. And it's amazing if you just continue to do the simple things, how things work out. If you combine discipline, effort, execution, you get pretty good results, and that luck comes into play as well.
Lafayette, an interesting young man. He was Junior Hockey's Scholastic Player of the Year in 1992. Ledyard moves it across. Ludwig pushes it ahead. Gagne is checked. Centering attempt broken up by the Canucks. They really aren't allowing any penetration at all for the Stars, trying to come up the middle into the Vancouver zone. Courtnall's pass was behind Linden. And Linden comes back to take Gagne in against the boards as Lume brings it the other way for Vancouver. His shoot in is blocked by Hatcher. Moved ahead to Courtnall. Courtnall with Linden pestering him. And Linden managed to get a stick on him and also take Courtnall down. Now in front of the net, McLean stops Modano. Modano gets it again. Modano trying to move it out front. He's checked, and back comes Pavel Bure. Bure has Adams with him. A long shoot in off the glass. Adams races to the corner after it, plays it back of the net. Bure had circled and gone back to the line. Now Courtnall being watched by Bure. He banks it off the boards, past the Russian Rocket. Moved up on the right side for Courtnall. He can't get to it. Adams starts back. Adams for Ronning. Ronning tried to give him the puck, and it was broken up. And back comes Modano. Modano moving into the slot area. Modano still controlling it, and finally it's checked away from him by Cliff Ronning, who did a good job of getting back into the play. Bure picks up the loose puck in the corner with 14:24 remaining in the third period. Vancouver leading by a score of 3-0. Rink wide for Brown. He deflects it out, but it's brought back in by Cavallini. Penalty coming up against the Dallas Stars as Cliff Ronning was hooked down. And the Vancouver Canucks will have a power play.
Commercial's over, and you can use it to heat up French fries in the penalty box as well. Evason gets a pair here. A needless penalty as he hooks Ronning right in the middle of your screen. Van Helmen was right on top of things. The native of Flin Flon, Manitoba, will serve 120 seconds at a time when his team would rather have a power play advantage than be killing a penalty for 2 minutes.
Jeff Brown misses his defensive partner Lume with the lead pass, and Brown will have to go back and try and set things up again. He skates away from Gilchrist. Now Lume dodges a check from Gilchrist, gets away from Cavallini, gets it to Bure. Bure back to Linden, but it's offside.
Well, Linden has a special challenge in this series, and that's to play equal or above Modano. Both of these guys were very, very high draft picks. Modano, #1 overall. Linden in his draft year was #2 overall. These fans usually very, very aggressive and rowdy, have got not a lot to cheer about right now. Not only is their team clearly behind by 3 goals, but there's not much life in the Stars lineup at a time when they need life dramatically.
They haven't had many good scoring opportunities. Vancouver has been able to shut them down. Murray bumps with Ludwig. Talked earlier about the physical game he's playing. It doesn't seem to matter who he goes up against. He throws the body at them. And he has also, more importantly for the Canucks, scored 2 goals. Modano trying to break through. 1 minute remaining in the penalty. The puck comes free to Bure. Bure tried to slip it ahead for Lume, and Modano got back to take it away. Bure forces Modano to circle. Now he goes rink wide for Eklund. Eklund plays it to an open wing. Smolik couldn't pick it up. Now Modano comes back. He dumps it into Ledyard. Ledyard has Ronning after him. Ronning takes the puck away for Courtnall. Courtnall gains the line. Courtnall puts it in front. Knocked back to the blue line, and Babbage couldn't keep it onside. 28 seconds remaining in the penalty. 12:37 the time left in the 3rd period. 3-0 Vancouver leading. Vancouver looking to take a 2-0 series lead. Back to Vancouver for Game 3 on Friday night. Game 4 at the Pacific Coliseum on Sunday afternoon. And should this series go beyond that, Game 5 will take place in Vancouver on Tuesday night. Icing is the call against Vancouver with 4 seconds remaining in the penalty to Dean Evason.
Well, if you go back a few years ago in history, Serge Savard and the Montreal Canadiens swept the St. Louis Blues in the finals. The 2nd straight time Savard was the Conn Smythe winner. You know what's neat about this is the fact that the Stanley Cup was won on this date. And if you think of where we are in the playoffs at this stage, we still have 2.5 full rounds to go. I can remember Doug Risebrough telling me when he was first traded to the Calgary Flames how his first Stanley Cup was on the day the Kentucky Derby was run. Well, we're not too far from bluegrass country here. Don, the Kentucky Derby will be this weekend, and we've still got lots of hockey when we go into the summer.
At full strength, Lume comes to the line, and his shot is blocked by Moog. Now it's McPhee with a long shot that McLean handles and holds for another faceoff. McPhee had 2 goals in the series opener in a 6-4 Dallas loss. And he's one of the players on the Dallas Stars who has a Grey Cup ring to show for his efforts in the National Hockey League. Stanley Cup. I've got football and hockey confused tonight. I was thinking about the Super Bowl theme we had at the start and talking about football earlier, but McPhee is a Stanley Cup winner.
Don, I was a little concerned actually when I saw you in a 3-point stance in the buffet lineup this morning.
I had to get there ahead of you, Pep.
You did a fine job, You know, that play is an example of what Dallas is not doing. McPhee shoots the puck and then nobody crashes the net. That's a sign to Vancouver that their strong play defensively is paying off. Those little signs are things that give teams an edge, and Dallas, without saying they've given up the ghost in this hockey game, they're not making enough of an effort to make Vancouver defense and forwards from a defensive point of view pay the price as they drive to the net.
Jelena gets away from McPhee. Hatcher now trying to tie him up, and he succeeds. Broughton picks up the loose puck. Broughton can't get away from Lafayette. He's forced to circle back. Broughton knocked down by Jelena, and there's going to be a penalty against Vancouver.
You're looking at one Canadian.
He stepped up the level of his play as the playoffs have worn on. He gets caught for holding here. Neil Broughton continues to skate. It's called Russian holding. If you let your stick out a little bit right at the end of your glove, you can put it into the pads or sweater of your opponent. Nobody really sees it. If the guy doesn't fall down, it's a great way to slow him up. Broughton fell down on that one, and Van Helmen had to call the penalty.
So the Stars have the man advantage, trailing by a score of 3-0. Dano was knocked down, and the Stars were offside.
You know, I don't want to give the Russians a bad name for holding. I guess I should explain that. Sergei Makarov used to do that. Notice that little trick, and all the guys on the team that year came up with the name for that holding trick. And if Medano saw that or knew it, he'd try it once in a while too. It's a crafty little maneuver. This guy has got to get his game going. More pressure falls onto the big guns when you fall behind in the playoffs. He got on a real roll against St. Louis, and he hasn't been able to do that in big part, I think, because of the giveaway he made in game 1. That's tough for a player to do that at the start of a hockey game. You've got to put it out of your mind. As I've said a couple of times, have a short memory and good focus. That with effort and a little bit of luck, and you can come out of those things.
Here comes the 50-goal scorer. He works to the corner, is knocked down, as Divic thought he had him lined up, but Medano slipped and fell prior to that, and now there's a scrum in the corner, and McIntyre is one of the players involved, and almost everybody else gets into it as well as the puck wound up underneath them.
Now, a bunch more little things here, Don. I don't know how many people notice these things, but as a player, Medano is not getting any respect. He's getting taken hard. Watch Didic here as he takes him into the boards. Medano tries to kick the foot out from Didic, and then Didic continues to roll over him even as Medano falls. And then when we went to the scuffle on the other side, Medano was in there first, and Didic came up from behind him and grabbed him by the shirt. The referees are all looking the other way, and Medano turns around, wonders who's there, and sees the guy who he just had the confrontation with. Those little one-on-one battles that regularly happen away from the eye of the fan or the referee can have an impact on how well somebody plays and how they might hear footsteps at different stages of the game.
1:16 the time remaining in the penalty to Jelena. Russ Courtnall has it. His shot is blocked by his brother Jeff. He starts down the right side, moves it into Lume. Lume on the backhand shot hit the side of the net. Russ Courtnall comes back again, being watched by Lume. He drops it at the line. Over now for Ledyard. Ledyard for Medano. Medano shot deflects back to the point. Cavallini gets the puck, gets it over to Courtnall. His shot knocked down in front. Hatcher, who was out trying to create some traffic in front of the net, got turned around, and the puck is taken to the boards by Linden. Linden couldn't move it. Comes back to Ledyard at the point. Ledyard tried to get it back to Cavallini, and Cavallini put his hip out to try and knock down Jeff Courtnall, but Courtnall managed to get to the puck.
Well, Van Helmon's got to call a penalty on that play. Courtnall is going to have a breakaway if Cavallini doesn't trip him up, but there was no penalty call.
12 seconds remaining in the infraction to Martin Jelena. Here comes Clapp. Churla moved into the slot. Bure picks up the puck coming in against Lawler. Bure shoots, big rebound, and Lawler comes back to pick it up for the Dallas Stars. Vancouver back at full strength. Lawler being pressured by Adams. He had to hurry his pass. Now it's picked up by Smolek. Dallas not being able to get going through the neutral zone. Smolek is met almost immediately by Craven, forcing another hurried pass. 8:38 remaining in the third period. Centering attempt picked off by Bure. Bure tried to hit Adams. Adams does get the puck, but it's offside. 8:31 the time remaining in the third period. The Canucks continue to lead by 3. From the face-off, Ledyard moves it ahead for Barr. Barr is checked there by Memesso, and Babbage comes back to pick up the loose puck. Memesso flips the puck down the ice. Ludwig back after it for Ledyard. 8:12 remaining as McPhee lets a high shot go, and it's deflected over the glass out of play.
During the Stars broadcast this season, one hockey fan will win $100 every time the Stars score a power.
Well, there were some people who thought that perhaps goaltender Kirk McLean might not play the entire series against the Calgary Flames, particularly after Game 2 of that series, but goaltender Coach Pat Quinn wasn't about to make a goaltending change And McLean was at his absolute best, particularly in the 7th game in overtime against the Flames. And he has really performed well again tonight. Ledyard with a long shot and a save by McLean. The big rebound comes to the blue line. Knocked down there, picked up by Ledyard. Pass intercepted by Linden. Linden has it knocked away from him. Ledyard goes to the corner after it. Bure gets the puck for Adams. Adams turns and tries to spin and fire a shot. It went off a stick to the corner. 7:40 remaining in the 3rd period. Canucks are not allowing the Dallas Stars to get any type of attack organized.
This is a very difficult game to play now if you're Dallas. You're frustrated because your captain's been run over and has missed a period and a half of the game and is probably at about 60% coming back for the 3rd period. You're down by 3 goals. You feel like your feet are in quicksand. You know you have to go to Vancouver for the 3 next games, if there is 3 games. All kinds of things are up against you. You wonder if you shouldn't have had an 8-day layoff or if it would have been better to go longer against St. Louis. You start to doubt yourself in different ways. You have to put that all out of your mind if you're wearing a white uniform tonight. Get thinking about the next shift. This game's probably over for Dallas, but if you could get straightened out, you could do the same thing in Vancouver that the Canucks have done here. The difference is it's a lot more difficult because Vancouver's playing a style of game that you have had 0 success against in the first 120 minutes of play.
We relayed the comments of Coach Pat Quinn about the performance of his team in Game 1, where the Vancouver Canucks, after the score was tied, really took control of the play. And here tonight, the Canucks have pretty much been in control for the entire hockey game.
Well, if we think back to the first period, though, Dallas was the better team in period number 1, but that hasn't been the case in period number 2 and number 3. Vancouver picked up the level of their game and has played exactly the same style over the last 43 minutes now. And if that continues, this game will end. Dallas will be shut out in their home building.
Jeff Courtnall flips it to the corner. Moog leaves it back of the net for Hatcher. Hatcher is forced to try and come out the other way. Courtnall goes across ice. He's bumped and knocked down. The Stars, with 6:43 remaining, get to the line, but they can't penetrate. Very content right now, the Canucks are, to slow down the pace of the hockey game. Playing a solid checking game. Here's a steal now for Evason over to Broughton. Broughton shoots. McLean makes the save, and Ronning simply banks it off the boards and down the ice.
Well, I've been involved in these games where you're behind and you just can't seem to do anything right. You want to talk about frustrating. The only thing to do is to get the red line, dump it in, try to get a hit, and see if you can change things around. And if you're Vancouver, you keep going exactly the same way.
Lamesso with a quick shot as the puck came into the slot. It's fired wide. 5:53 remaining. Shane Churla works his way slowly to center. A long shot. That's gloved. McLean leaves it there. Lume will bring it out for Vancouver. He dodges a check. Lume gets to the line and simply flips it to the corner. Hatcher goes back after it, and short shifts are the order of the day right now for the Canucks. Babbage retreats. He flips it high and down the ice. 5:26 remaining. Boy, the Vancouver Canucks have done a near perfect job defensively of shutting down Dallas in this 3rd period. They are staying with their men all the way, not affording them any good scoring opportunities. Gagne takes a shot that's knocked down at the side of the net by Didick. Over to Adams, to Bure. Bure dodges a check, quite content to go back into his own zone to take some time off the clock before heading the other way. He dumps it in and heads to the bench in the change.
Boy, lots of considerations for one of the Molson Canadian 3 stars tonight. Vancouver has had huge performances from just about everybody in the lineup. You know, if you look at any of their defensemen, Hedican, Didick, Babbage have all had good games. Brian Glynn has gotten stronger as his experience in the series has worn on. His 2nd game now. run through some of the forwards. Ronning with a very crucial first goal. An important assist as well. Bure's been strong. The list can go on and on. 4:22 remaining in the third period. Canucks are still up by 3.
In our home, breakfast is a real.
Teams have had a tremendous amount of success in games played in the Western Conference in this 93-94 playoff season. Here's a shot from the face-off by Craven, and that goes out of play. And the Vancouver Canucks had a better road record this year during regular season play than they did at the Pacific Coliseum. And the Dallas Stars also had a good road record. They were 19-17-6 away from Reunion Arena. So going on the road doesn't totally concern Bob Gainey, but he has to be a little worried heading to Vancouver, trailing 2-0 if in fact the Canucks hang on to this 3-0 edge.
Well, you like to look at some statistics, and for Dallas that will be one, going to Vancouver down in the series by at least 1 and probably 2 if the score of this game doesn't change.
Gilchrist centers it. McPhee from a sharp angle. McLean handled that. Now it comes back to Ludwig. His shot knocked down in front, and McLean steers that one to the corner. Ludwig races in. Another sharp angle shot. The puck bouncing in front of the net. And look at all those black uniforms coming in there to clear people out of the road. And in the opinion of Andy Van Hellemond, maybe they didn't do it legally.
Well, Vancouver will kill another penalty. All kinds of traffic in front of McLean. This guy has been a star in the game tonight. Absolutely outstanding. Look at how confident he is, how poised he is. He doesn't go down, stands up, gets an eye on the puck, and stays on his feet.
The executive producer of Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC is Ron Harrison. Tonight's game from the Reunion Arena in Dallas is being produced by Larry Isaac. Our director is Ron Forsythe. Calling the replays for this series is ISO director Don Moss. And a special thanks to all the other production and technical personnel who helped make this telecast possible. As well, the head of Network Television Sports is Alan Clark, and CBC's senior executive producer is Doug Sellers. Well, with 3:48 remaining, Bob Gainey, with a manpower edge, is also going to pull his goaltender. Andy Moog has gone to the bench. So it will be a 6-on-4 manpower advantage for the Dallas Stars.
Desperate situations require desperate measures. This is desperate. Almost 4 minutes remaining. Dallas has pulled their goalie.
Broughton having some problems handling it. Now he goes in deep, looks back to the point. Medano mishandles. He manages to flip it to the corner. Lume is bumped along the board. Hatcher is out there, and he's playing a forward position for the Stars. He goes to the front of the net. Here's Klatt looking back to the line. Ledyard's shot. McLean makes the save. Klatt is bumped by Glynn. It goes to Courtnall. Courtnall back at the line. Ledyard goes over to the other side. Courtnall gets it back to Ledyard. His shot is deflected wide. At the side of the net, they poke away at it, and McLean holds it for another face-off with 3:07 remaining in the third period.
Playoff coverage on CBC continues tomorrow with Game 3 from New York in the Rangers-Washington series. Game time 4:30 Pacific, 5:30 Mountain. The Vancouver-Dallas series moves to the Pacific Coliseum for Game 3 on Friday. Our coverage begins at 7:30 Pacific time. Viewers in Alberta and Saskatchewan will see the Toronto-San Jose series. Game 3 from San Jose beginning at 8:30 Mountain time. And coming up next, for viewers in Alberta and Saskatchewan, prime time news.
3:07 is the time remaining. 1:19 in the penalty to Jeff Brown. Andy Moog is on the bench in favor of the extra attacker during this power play. Babbage tries to whip it around the boards, and with some help from Craven, it does come out and down the ice. Gagne for Ledyard. He tried to shoot it in, put it over the glass, out of play.
Well, almost a minute's been killed in the Canucks penalty. The Stars have had a fair number of shots now. They've outshot Vancouver 38-29 over this entire game. There was a time when the edge in shots was in Vancouver's favor. Gainey now trying to concentrate on what he might be able to do to get even some momentum out of the last 3 minutes of this hockey game. It's one thing to try and come back to win it, but he's got to get his team believing that they can come back on the Canucks and even put 3 good solid minutes together. If you don't believe, you'll never accomplish what you set out to achieve.
Hatcher got it back to the line, but Ledyard was being pressured and could only shoot it to the corner. Now Gagne trying to walk out front. He jammed it, and McLean pushed it back to the blue line. Picked up there by Medano. In for Gagne. Ledyard went to the front of the net. Now Gagne has to come back to the line. Over to Medano. Medano shoots towards the goal. The puck loose in front. And finally it does come free, but Ledyard is able to spin and fire it back into the corner. Babbitt tried to get it out. He couldn't. Craven, however, will dump it the length of the ice with 2:04 remaining in the period. 13 seconds in the penalty to Brown.
Takes a lot of discipline to kill a penalty when the net's pulled. You got to shoot the puck down the boards, not be trying to put it in the net unless you're absolutely certain. It's so easy to try and go for the long shot when you can get a goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The right play, though, is to make sure the penalty is killed before you worry about getting the goal. And as easy as that sounds, it's a heck of a temptation when you get out there to go for the empty cage.
Cavallini fires it in. McIntyre had fired the puck all the way down the ice just prior to Brown coming out of the penalty box. And now Tim Hunter bumped with Shane Churla over in the corner, and this results in another gathering in the Vancouver zone with 1:30 remaining in the period.
Well, it would surprise me if Hunter doesn't get a penalty here. He gave a little bump against the boards just as the whistle went. Got Churla a little upset. Watch Hunter here. Bumps McPhee right there just as the puck goes over the boards. Churla gives him a bit of a cross check. And I would think that with 1.5 minutes remaining, both of these guys will go out of the game, as Van Helmen doesn't want any additional work.
Well, Hunter has gone to the Canuck dressing room, and Shane Churla is being escorted off to the Dallas dressing room with 1:30 remaining. In the other Western Conference semifinal tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs got back on even terms with the San Jose Sharks, winning by a score of 5-1. And with the next 3 moving on to San Jose, that series is deadlocked at 1-1. Earlier this year, this is how the Sharks and Maple Leafs fared, and it was a pair of victories for the Sharks, no losses, and 2 of the games ended up in a tie.
On the exact opposite for this series, where the Stars dominated the Canucks throughout the regular season, but that story has been completely rewritten in the opening 2 games of this series.
Jeff Brown moves it ahead, picked up by Adams. With Moog back in the net, Adams simply dumps it into the corner. Bure steals the puck, plays it back into his own zone to Brown, takes a return pass, gets it over to Hedekin, back into the corner to Brown, ahead to Bure, and Bure quite content simply to flip it back into his own zone, making sure of the pass to kill off some time. He takes it back again before driving it in. He has scored twice tonight. Beautiful goal in the 3rd period that staked the Canucks to their 3-0 lead.
Well, Bure has really set the tone for Vancouver this evening. As much as McLean has been solid, made saves when he had to, and made some tremendous saves, I might add, Bure clearly the guy who has caught everyone on this team in his draft and forced a victory out of the Canucks.
21 seconds remaining. Hatcher being watched by Craven. The majority of the spectators at the Reunion Arena have already headed for the exits tonight, as the Vancouver Canucks are going to head back to the Pacific Coliseum with a 2-0 series lead. And I think there are a lot of surprised hockey people not only here in Dallas, but around the country at the result they have witnessed in these first two games. Kirk McLean opened the playoffs with a 5-0 victory over the Calgary Flames, and tonight he has faced 39 Dallas shots here at the Reunion Arena. He's a candidate, so is Pavel Bure, for the Molson Canadian 3 stars. I think all 3 of those 3-star selections will go to Vancouver players. Hedican flips it down the ice, and Kirk McLean is going to get his second shutout of the playoffs, and the Vancouver Canucks are going to establish a club record with a 5th consecutive playoff victory.
Well, the Dallas Stars leave their series here completely demoralized, and their fans feel the same way. But all of that negative energy is to the Canucks' gain. Boy, are they positive about this now. Their emotion is just overflowing. And the key for the Canucks is to keep that emotion in check, that they don't get too far ahead of themselves. A solid game by Vancouver from start to finish. And although Dallas outplayed them in the first period, McLean was there. Good, solid defense prevailed. They improved the level of their game, and they clearly dominated by a wide margin in periods 2 and 3. And that's why they own this series right now. 3 games at home coming up.
So the Vancouver Canucks, with a 3-0 victory over Dallas, take a 2-0 series lead home to the Pacific Coliseum on Friday.
All from the Vancouver Canucks: Pavel Bure, Kirk McLean, and Gerald Diduck. Vancouver shut out the Stars 3-0 to take a 2-0 series lead over Dallas, heading to the Pacific Coliseum for games 3, 4, and 5. Playoff action on CBC continues tomorrow with game 3 from New York. Rangers and Caps at 4:30 Pacific time. Good night from all of us at Hockey Night in Canada in Big D.
Hey, Canada, what's a quirk? Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC was brought to you by Molson Canadian. Take your best shot in the Molson Canadian Score a Million Stanley Cup contest. And by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. CBC Sports, home of the champions.
Stars here tonight in Dallas following a Vancouver 3-0 shutout win over the Stars. The 3rd star from the Vancouver Canucks, very strong defensively, Gerald Diduck. The 2nd star also from the Vancouver Canucks with his 2nd shutout of this playoff season, Kirk McLean. And the 1st star with 2 goals, his 5th and 6th of the playoffs from the Vancouver Canucks, the Russian Rocket, Pavel Bure. The final score, once again, Vancouver shutting out the Stars 3-0 to take a commanding 2-0 lead in this best-of-7 Western semifinal. At the beginning of the telecast tonight, we pointed out how key Kirk McLean has been, certainly in the last 3 games against Calgary, and now the 2 games here in Dallas. Kirk, you seem to be playing with a great deal of confidence.
Well, I think the whole team right now is playing with some good confidence, and we're keeping it at an even level. I mean, we're not letting ourselves ride a high wave. We know that we have a big task in front of us with Dallas. They're a very strong team that's very tenacious and fights for 60 minutes.
Kirk, late in the 3rd period tonight, I saw you stay on your feet. A flurry of about 3 or 4 shots. That, to me, is an indication that you're playing with confidence when you just stand there and defy the shooters.
Well, that's the way I try to play all the time, and sometimes you get unlucky and they jam it by you. But you know, when things seem to be going well for you, that's what happens, and you know, touch wood, hopefully it lasts.
Talked to Glenn Hanlon before the game, and he said the whole key really was your confidence and the guys who were playing in front of you playing awfully well.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, you know, we never said die against Calgary. We could easily be folded there when we were down 3-1, but we went in and got a big win against them in Calgary, 2-1 in overtime, and then you know, carried on to this series.
We got some saves here in tonight's 3-0 shutout win over the Stars. This was in the 1st period when I think you were under the greatest amount of fire.
Yeah, they came at me strong, or at us strong anyways, the 1st period again. I was able to scramble a little bit there and keep the puck out.
This was a much more physical game than the first one, and a little chippy at times.
Well, it was. You know, they're a strong forechecking team that likes to bump. When we're at our best, that's what we like to do, and that's what makes us go. And we have to continue to play like that to be successful.
It's got to be a great feeling to be heading home to the Pacific Coliseum with a 2-0 lead in this series.
Well, it helps for sure. That's you know, nothing we could ask better for. 3 games at home now, but we have to continue to play the way we are because we know what happened with Calgary. They went home with a 2-game lead and we came back and won it.
Kirk, good luck in Vancouver in games 3, 4, and 5.
Thanks very much.
Kirk McLean, the second star of tonight's game. He picks up his second shutout of the playoff season with a 3-0 win over the Dallas Stars. More on Molson Hockey Night in Canada, the Stanley Cup playoffs on CBC in just a moment. 3-0 in the other playoff game tonight in Toronto. It was all Leafs over the San Jose Sharks, 5-1 to even that half of the Western semifinal at 1 game apiece, heading for the West Coast. But here in Dallas tonight, number 10 of the Vancouver Canucks, the Russian Rocket, Pavel Bure, 2 goals. This was the second. He goes deep, deep, deep against Andy Moog before he finally pulls the trigger. His second of the night, 6th of the playoff season, and Pavel Bure does a little bit of celebrating in leading his Vancouver Canucks to a 3-0 win over the Dallas Stars. Back with a final thought from Reunion Arena in Dallas in just a moment.
Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC was brought to you by Molson Canadian. Take your best shot in the Molson Canadian Score a Million Stanley Cup contest. And by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi.
In Dallas tonight, the Canucks shut out the Stars 3-0 to take a 2-0 series lead. Playoff coverage on CBC continues tomorrow with Game 3 from New York in the Rangers-Washington series. The Vancouver-Dallas series moves to the Pacific Coliseum for Game 3 on Friday.